So the project on carbon emission reduction and carbon credits started about 5 years ago. And what we did over these last 5 days was a culmination of all of that work. And in those 5 days, there were auditors who were on site from IMA Florida. And they spent time going around and taking a look at all the different things that had been done before that identified sections of the forest or the reserve that were dedicated to determine how much carbon was being reduced or consumed by the forest. It's worthy of note that the forest itself had been given governmental approval to be deforested, to have the woods sold. And the owner of that land chose to not do that and to focus on a sustainable private reserve that could then have these sort of credits sold and make it a sustainable process from an economic perspective. And again, these 5 days have been very focused. About a team of 8 folks from IMA Florida were there. There was also somebody representing the Rainforest Alliance through ANSI. And during those days, it was a time of also checking on, as I just mentioned, these sort of markers. There's little sections of the forest that identify a section of trees that determine how much of that carbon is actually consumed by an estimate of the size of the tree and things like this. And it's interesting that really what they wanted to be focused on is that everything was in place such that after all is said and done, they can continue to manage this and continue to make the estimates that they need to do. Of course, there was a lot of numbers involved and a lot of technical terms, some of which I'm not privy to or aware of. But it was very interesting to see how much goes into and how much led up to this process for the carbon credits to eventually be sellable on the market, and also a sustainable private reserve that creates this, that's never existed before in the history of Brazil, by the way, to be a ecologically and economically sustainable thing for those who both live around it, the 15 communities, and for those who are owners or involved in the overall project. So that was the summary that I would give of the carbon credit project here in Manaus, Manicoré, and the communities around the private reserve of Rio 1.